So today's video is about making a light for my van, and I'm just going to admit up front that this project is purely a novelty, and I just basically did it for the satisfaction of making something. I could have easily purchased something that would have essentially had the same function, and I mean, to be honest, I've actually got an extra light from a previous project sitting in the shop that I could have made work. It didn't sit very nice and evenly, but either, using some goop or a sealer or maybe making a gasket, like I could have made this other light work and it would have worked totally fine. As you enjoy making things in your life, you'll come across products that you just know you can make just a little bit better. So this was kind of one of those projects where I just wanted something that I just couldn't find on the market, so I decided to make it myself purely for the enjoyment of making it. So what I set out to make is the lowest profile, most sleek exterior light for my van. This light is going to be used when we're camping and just hanging out at night, and I just wanted a nice light that when I wasn't using it, as much as possible, just blended into the rest of the van. So here's what I started with. I had some of this neon light style LED rope lighting from actually even a different build from before, and I found an aluminum U-channel that was just sized perfectly on MacMaster, so I could just take that neon light and tuck it into that channel. I did want it to be really sleek though, so I decided to go through the process of trying to round the front and rear corners so they didn't look square. So I ended up cutting these little grooves. Then I, hammered the gaps closed, and then I didn't want to wait for JB Weld or something else to dry to fill that gap, so I ended up welding them. Now I'm a pretty terrible welder, and I've just got a MIG welding setup that I've been using for aluminum. So the combination of my welding skills, how MIG welding aluminum looks, and just the fact that welding 16th inch thick aluminum is kind of a bitch with MIG, this came out looking super fugly. But I didn't need any real structural strength here. I just needed to fill those gaps. I just did a little bit of work on the grinder and it came out really nice. I had purchased some matching paint for this project, so I just went ahead and spray painted it to match. So a few days later, the paint was dry and it was time to assemble this thing. In the meantime, I had soldered a short length of cable onto a piece of that LED lighting, and then I did use some conformal coating on this just to make sure it was nice and protected. From my experience, whenever you've soldered something and then you're gonna have to kind of fudge with it to get it into position, I always like to kind of dry test it into position and make sure you haven't disturbed it too much. So the dry fit went fine, and then it was time to glue it in. I'm going to be using this 3M FlexiClear body seam sealer. I've never used this stuff, but I've have nothing but the light with most 3M products, and this is supposed to fill seams in automotive body panels and stay clear, so I think this will work perfect for this. Now the glue process went fairly smoothly. I did have a little bit of squeeze out that I ended up cleaning up with a little bit of xylene. That stuff's fairly potent, so that wasn't too good. But when I tried to clean it up with rubbing alcohol, I got a little bit of clouding and it wasn't really cleaning up the material. One of the big advantages of this 3M FlexiClear is that the dry time or the skin over time is like less than an hour. So it was nice to just all in an afternoon get this light strip glued in and then have the ability to just glue it to the van. This stuff's also got some nice initial tack. So I was just able to feed that cable through the wall kind of gingerly, and then I just ran a bead of the 3M FlexiClear across the back of it and set the thing into place. I did use a little masking tape just kind of as insurance, but I don't think it would have gone anywhere. And then another hour later, it was time to remove the tape, and I just wanted to run an extra little bead of sealer along the top of the light. I had sort of been dealing with this earlier, but it turns out there was quite a bit of air bubbles inside the caulking tube. I haven't experienced this before, so I don't know if this was just a fluke. Whoa, that's annoying. But anyways, it made a little bit of a mess, so then I had to do a little more cleanup with xylene, and that just wasn't very much fun. That bead along the top is pretty fugly, but thankfully it's not visible from the ground. So a quick review on this FlexiClear body seam sealer. I really like the product. Time will tell whether it actually doesn't yellow like the stats say it won't. But I was pretty disappointed of all those air bubbles in the tube. It did feel a little light, so I don't know if this is just a fluke, but yeah, it kind of made a little bit of a mess, and that was a pain to clean up. So hopefully it doesn't yellow, because that's what really matters, but pretty disappointing, those air bubbles. So here's the finished product. I've got it glued on. Yeah, really happy. Turns out really nice and sleek. It's about as low profile as I could think to make a light that's actually positioned up high, so it kind of gives you a nice area light when you're camping. Here's what it looks like when it's dark in the shop. That's just kind of the perfect amount of light I wanted. And that's that. I think these little projects in the shop, that are just purely done for the enjoyment of building something are just a really good way to kind of apply your skills. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.